Here's the good scenario. That small businesses and investors get a go signal from Congress and we get some positive job creation for a couple months in a row, and stock prices go up and interest rates start to rise, and you get a massive move out of cash and bonds into stocks. And the increase in the stock market creates a wealth effect, which makes people want to spend some money and do some things again. And you see, most of that's already happened. That's why I put this together probably back in July last year, and I'm still leaving it up. It's an operable checklist to see, and most of that is happening. Stock money is starting to trickle out of bonds into stocks, just a trickle. Your stock market has doubled in about a year and a half or 2 years. The clock goes by too fast. Has about doubled, and the retail investor hasn't been buying. The retail investor has been putting every penny that they go into a mutual fund, all of it into bonds. And just in the last couple of months, as it started to leak out into stocks, and all of that leakage went into foreign stocks. So our stock market has doubled without a penny of retail money going into it. Now, here's the bad scenario, and this is what I was getting criticized for, the good scenario. Here's the bad scenario, that Congress continues to scare business owners. See, here's another go signal. Healthcare is killing people. Healthcare is the principal reason in my mind why businesses aren't hiring right now, even though they want to, because they can't quantify their costs. Now, here's a go signal from that. Over 700 firms now have successfully applied for an exemption from healthcare. McDonald's, exempt from the healthcare. The Service Employees Union International, exempt from healthcare. If your company isn't already one of those 700 exempt from healthcare, get that form and get it in there. See, because maybe that's the way this is going to work out. We pass universal healthcare and then exempt everybody from being in it. It's a lot cheaper than going to the Supreme Court. And the worst case scenario is, rather than the government living within their means and scaling back, the federal government prints another $1 trillion and sends it to the school districts for another year. They know it runs out, you know it runs out, and all you do is postpone decisions and say, I know what's going to happen next year. That's what everybody knows this now. And that's a good sign that everybody knows it. We're going to have to deal with this, period. I think, though, that all this negative stuff about government can be offset by the positive energy from businesses. And I know there's business people in this room, and you're going, Mark, I had some positive energy till I heard you just 5 minutes ago. I don't anymore. And I'm going to tell you, don't be that way. You've got to have some confidence in the future of this country. You weren't born here to hide either. If you got a service to provide to customers, get out there and do it. They've got money. It's your job to do it, and don't sit around and hide. But it's just going to be part of the deal. And if this happens, this uncertainty does not resolve itself, then interest rates will start going backwards. The 10-year Treasury will start moving back down toward 2% again, and gold will start going up again as people say, these people won't clean up their mess. They didn't clean up their mess. It doesn't appear they have any intention to clean up their mess. This is a big year. This is an important year, folks. Herbert Hoover, after he retired, I bought a book of his. I buy books all the time, not Kindles either. He had a book of letters that he wrote to kids after he was president. And one of them in there, a 12-year-old boy goes, Mr. Hoover, I want to be president of the United States. What do I need to know or do? And Hoover's response was, young man, being a politician is not a worthy profession, but being a public servant is a noble one. That's what we need in America now. We don't need one politician. We need nothing but public servants that will step up and get the job done, tell the American people the truth, and help us make roadways to start fixing the problems. I have confidence that you will do it and everybody else in this country will do it. The trick is, if we're going to feel some pain, we all have to feel it. If people think that rich people are getting by for nothing, how are you going to convince a firefighter to take a cut in their pension when a rich person's getting by without it. Not going to happen. It's going to have to be everybody. And that's why I like Erskine Bowles and Alan Simpson. It's everybody. Everybody takes a lick. You're all, including me, living above our means and getting stuff that you can't pay for and you're not paying for. And it's time to get real. All of us. Let's just hope and pray that this is the year that the government comes clean, tells the American public the truth, and that the American public has the same kind of fortitude that their parents and their grandparents did to step in the saddle and do the right thing. And so with that, I'm going to open it up for questions. Oh, okay. It worked.
I know. It's amazing when it works, isn't it?
You stand over
Okay.
here.
It says, what would happen if there was a material downgrade of U.S. debt by rating agencies, and what are the odds of such a downgrade?
Okay. Number one, don't short sell America. All these people, the reason the Chinese are harping so much about our debt is because they're cheating on their currency. And to cheat on their currency, I can show you that chart. It's probably in this program. Just look at it yourself. The yen, the yuan to the dollar. They're cheating on their currency. They're a currency manipulator. No, when they make their currency that cheap, you can't compete with them no matter how good you are. And so how do they cheat? How do they manipulate their currency? Well, every time we print $1 trillion, they have to print 1 trillion yuan to keep their currency. Otherwise, their currency should be going up, and it would be fair, and our businesses could compete with them. That's how they peg their currency. Every time we print, they print. Well, what happens is, the first time we printed 600 billion or whatever it was with QE1, they hollered a little bit. But all of a sudden, when we printed another big batch of it here with QE2, they started hollering really loud because they have 5 or 6% inflation over there, and we don't. And when we print money, they have to print money to keep the peg in place. And when they print money, their banks loan it out, and they build buildings with no tenants in them. That's what they're doing over there. We could have 10% GDP growth here if we adopted the Chinese model of printing money and making the banks lend it out at 25% of our GDP. That would be like me printing $4 trillion and making the banks lend it to you, and you go, I don't want it for anything. Well, you got to borrow it. Go build an office building. There's no tenants in it. I don't care. Build an office building. You see how that works? If I print money and loan it to you or make you take it, and then you build office buildings with no tenants in it, we've got 10% GDP growth. See what I'm saying? That's what China's doing right now. And every time we print 1 trillion, they have to print them, and that creates more inflation for them. So that's kind of how the drill is working here. I'm not worried about a credit rating here. Who gives you can't say that at the Opera House. A year ago, I was at the Outer Limits Bar in Stephenville. I get away with that. I forgot where I was this morning. Pardon me. I forgot where I was now. Who cares about? Yeah. We're the biggest economy on earth. China is a subcontractor for us. That's it. What do you think would happen if we just decided not to buy something from China, made in China, for 2 weeks? How long do you think it would take Walmart to recognize that a product line isn't selling? What would you guess, an hour or two? How long does it take an email to go from Bentonville to Shanghai? About a second? What does Walmart do when a SKU stops selling? They call their supplier and tell them to stop making it. If we just for 2 weeks decided just don't buy anything made in China, just for 2 weeks, we would find out in a real hurry just how much we need to worry about our dollar getting devalued. I know what I was going to say was, who cares about ratings agencies? Those are the same people that told you that CDOs and synthetic CDOs were AAA rated too. I don't care. Could care less about it. Now, my opinion may not matter. If there's a lot of people out there that think that matters, I don't believe there are, because I don't think anybody believes rating agencies anymore anyhow. But yeah, let me say this. Forget the ratings agencies. That's not the cogent issue. If the bond market decides that Congress can't get the job done, and the bond market decides that the American public will not tolerate living within our means, interest rates will start to go up without ratings agencies. And that's what we need to worry about. We don't need to worry about rating agencies. We need to be worrying about a Congress that signals to the global community that dollars will be worth less a year from now.